Sam was just talking to us about, increasing anti-China sentiment in the U.S. And how this rhetoric isn't going to go away anytime soon as we head up to the November 3rd elections. Does this mean more volatility for Chinese equities?
Indeed. I think this is weighing down the sentiment in A-shares and also the Hong Kong market. And this is probably the single biggest risk factor for Chinese equities because growth has been okay. And then in some pockets of the market, the valuations pushing the upward limit and people wanting to de-risk. So I think this risk may last potentially through the U.S. presidential election and maybe, really fully settle until we hear the inauguration, and that would be January 2021.
Do you think, first of all, it's Huawei, then it's TikTok, then WeChat. I mean, the list keeps going on. Do you think all this political noise against Chinese companies will die down once the elections are over? What do you think?
That's a hard one to call. I think it may not be over by election. I think people would want to know the new administration's China agenda, and that would probably be sometime after the U.S. election. And on that point, if we do have a sizable, healthy correction, consolidation after what's been a very good performance year to date through early September. Now, the next couple months will be a bit choppy, but then in 2021, it would be a pretty good market.
Interesting. And Wendy, one of the factors that investors have to contend with is what's happening with the tech leadership in the U.S., which was waning for a bit, as noted by the correction that we had from the highs. And that has had an impact on tech in China as well. But do you think that now presents a buying opportunity, perhaps, in the sector?
Very good question. When we look at the index constituents, MSCI China CSI 300, most are still consolidating. The weaker ones are probably consolidated sufficiently, but the strong ones are holding up. And the selective buying is really very narrow toward chemicals, which are still relatively reasonable in terms of valuation vis-a-vis growth, and some EV-themed stocks, and then also autos, which, improvements happening on some of the models and shipments. So I think we're probably still in the early part of the correction.